is definitely something I would rather hear him on than myself. Like, I'm fairly well aware of the type of things that I sound good on and that I don't sound good on. And, you know, and he's fairly dynamic to the point where I don't know if there's been anything that I've thrown your way that it's been like, nah, I can't really rhyme on this at all.
There's been some joints.
But the slow ones, you.
Well, I think that sometimes. Yeah, I think that sometimes, and we talk about this all the time as an MC, I think one of the greatest attributes is your ability to maybe say, okay, this instrumental by itself with just the instrumentation is going to sound way better than anything I could apply to it. I may be able to rhyme ill, and I may be able to have, you know, a lot of skill and showcase that on this, and maybe it's a hot rap, but it's not going to sound better than the instrumentation of this song does by itself. You know, and that's part of the reason there are instrumentals in every Maxilla record, you know, because it's like either you sully it with a human voice or you allow it to breathe sometimes. And so there have definitely been some tracks that Luke has produced, sending my way, hopefully thinking that some human's voice would be matched to it. And in my mind, I thought through all of the possible directions I may take with it, and none of them sounded better than I thought the sound sounded by itself. So, you know, it's just a sketchy type of relationship to get into. And you just try not to do that with beats or women or anything.
And I think it also comes from an understanding of the role of a producer on a song and like the work that goes into it and the deliberateness of everything on a beat. Because I feel, you know, when there isn't, you know, a relationship between the person making the track and the person spitting on it, and, you know, on every step of it, that the track is the track, and then you rap on top of the track, as opposed to how, you know, the voice is, like you were saying, just one more instrument going into creating a song. And sometimes it's there, and sometimes it isn't. Just like sometimes you use horns, and sometimes you don't use horns, you know? And I definitely appreciated that going through the album. So you mentioned earlier when you guys were first coming together, these underground hip hop shows, Quality in Des Moines, and I know for us being an hour away and, you know, searching for strong hip hop in the state, and, you know, at times finding stuff coming across people like you guys, but talk about a little bit about what the Des Moines hip hop or just music scene in general, like in what ways is that vibrant?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just getting us in trouble.
Yeah, we can two-part it. I think at this point the Des Moines scene is developing, and it's developing maybe at a more substantial rate than it has been previously. You know, I know people from different eras will have their own opinions on it, but I do think that there's a certain level of hunger that exists now in the city amongst certain pockets. That maybe pretty soon here, people should really start taking notice of what's up. I think right now they should take notice of maybe some individual acts, but maybe here pretty soon people should take note of the scene overall as having the general sentiment of understanding what the culture is about. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're developing. I also have to be honest and say that our scene is somewhat behind other metropolitan areas, you know. And it doesn't get the support that it probably deserves, but at the same time, there have been plenty of acts that have ruined the chance for, you know, deserving support from people as well. So it's sort of a two-way street, but, you know, a lot of groups, not only Maxilla Blue, are sort of working to counteract that here. The scene's trying right now. There's some ill pockets in it. There's some deadly wizards here, you know, that will really embarrass large name national acts if they come here and try to perform after them. But at the same time, there are a lot of bums here who watch things on TV and then assume that that's the path and that they are that, and that's what this is all about.
I mean, that definitely rings true. I mean, with the work that we're trying to do, you know, working with Nick, we established with each other very early that at the baseline, we couldn't do anything unless the project was quality, unless the music was really, really strong, you know, completed full music, and that other stuff is following, and it all builds out of that. But you can't do anything with the tools that are available, whether it's a lot of tools, it's a big scene or whatever, anywhere. You can't do it in New York or Chicago either unless the music's, really, really quality at the bass line. Though, it can get, I would imagine, frustrating at some points when you see, people getting passed over and stuff like that.
I personally don't dwell on that much. There was definitely a time when that almost is what drove certain decisions and certain things. Yeah, it really was. Certain things in terms of, and that was, a project right before starting to work with Aeon Gray on Maxilla, is, you, as you're making tracks, you're thinking to yourself, oh, is this going to be the 12-inch? Is this going to be the banger? We need another banger to finish this album out. Instead of just, creating, digging what you create, and then at some point you feel and all right, this is good. Maybe
doing as many photo shoots as you are recording sessions.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of it is, like you were saying, the quality of the music. You can blame the quality almost to like the shift in the industry of people. Like we talked about this in another interview we did, where almost like people are creating a persona and a promotional package before they're even making music. They're like, this is who I want to be, and this is what I'm going to try and portray. And you can just tell when you listen to their music, like, that's not you. Yeah, and I think that sort of is kind of like, that's part of the thing, like Des Moines itself is like kind of still feeling out. Like there's a lot of really talented guys that have this mindset of like, they want to be the biggest thing here. And it's like, man, just be yourself. And people here respond to that. And that's I always tell people, like, they're like, well, what do you guys do? What does Maxilla do? Why are you guys getting this and this? I'm like, we're just doing whatever we do. I don't know. Like, I'm not like.
And nobody else can do that. Yeah, nobody else can do that.
But yeah, I mean, so like the scene here, like it needs a lot of facilitation and like still needs a lot of like cultivating. And I think there was like a gap from the 90s when I showed up here in like 99 and 2000. There was just nothing, and it took 5-6 years to really get something moving to the point where you could say like, oh, there's something resembling a scene of people. But it's definitely come a long way over the past decade, and I'm maybe the most skeptical person in Iowa about like where this can go, and really like. So I moved away for a while and I came back, and I kind of see like another level like opening up above where it was that I kind of felt was like, this is the ceiling. Like this is, I felt like I was done. I need to get out of here. And now that I'm back, it's like, I see something else kind of emerging from the clouds. It's like, well, we can try that.
Well, I mean, kind of jumping off that, there's this, a lot of the artists I talk to, no matter what the genre of their music is, whatever anyone wants to call it, whatever, kind of the bass line is when I ask them where does this come from? It's that same kind of like, well, this is the music that I need to make, that you guys were talking about, and then everything else follows from there. And that comes, and then the elements of it come from their experiences, their background. That's pretty straightforward when you're making music that's actually like genuine. And that's how I think you kind of get this like the whole idea of like representing a city and stuff like that. That is, people talk about. And my question is, what do you think are kind of, when representing this city or this state, whatever it is, what are kind of the strains that run throughout like real, like, the hip hop of Des Moines, regardless of how the artist makes it?